Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. My name is Jessica, and I will be instructing everyone on intro to block printing today. And my company is Secret Life of Daydreams, and we are an event host. We host events and help people plan various events from corporate to weddings in the DC area. So my colleague Sarah is going to be on the line to help me since this is the first time we've done this virtually. Typically we hosted at Shop Made in DC at one of their locations. And so if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to myself or reach out to Sarah or holler our name. A couple of things. I have parrots, so I apologize if they decide to join us on our block printing workshop this evening. We should be going to bed soon, but who knows? And yeah, a couple of other things. Camera or no camera, it's completely up to you. You might be zoomed out, and I will not be insulted if you decide not to show your lovely face. Chat is open. Feel free to ask questions over the mic or via chat, and we'll also have check-ins as we're doing this work. The other piece is that feel free, please work at your own pace. Typically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain and show you the full process of block printing, and then give you that big overview. And then I'm actually going to be working on a project at the same time. Sometimes when I'm working on it, there are things that I forgot to share at the beginning that I'll tell you guys little reminders on as I'm working through my own piece. But you might be going faster or you might be going slower than me. We are recording this, so if it comes and we're at the end of our time together and you're still working, one of the great things about doing this virtually is that you can keep working as long as you want to. You don't have to worry about cleaning up or getting kicked out of Shop Made in DC or anything like that. And then these tools that you have that I'm getting ready to go over are really great tools that you can use for the future. When you create your block, if you really enjoy it, something that you can wash off at the end of tonight with some warm water, let it dry, and then use it as many times as you want on as many different mediums as you want. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Perfect. Make sure nobody else tried to join. Okay, let's go through our tools. So you have your block, and if you ever did block printing in school, you might have printed on linoleum. Linoleum is wonderful, but it's kind of hard for an intro class because it's very tough to carve with. So this instead is a really nice, like rubbery block that's easy to carve. The one downside to this is that it's hard to do fine detail really well with this. So we go from bigger, easily defined images and items to print with something like this, just because the softness makes it hard to do something fine. But I will get more into that. Then you have your brayer or your roller. This is a hard rubber brayer. In the past, you might have worked with a soft rubber brayer. The hard rubber is easier to work with when you're working with your soft block. And you, depending on, this is pretty big. The ones you guys have are pretty big compared to the block. You don't have to get your paint all over all of it. You can just get it wherever you're feeling like you need to get coverage on your block. Then I'm going to show you how to use your lino cutter. Okay. So for your lino cutter, very important tool. You'll see if you open up the back of it, and like I said, you don't have to remember all of this. You can feel free to ask me questions. They're magnetic. So if you're like, why can I not get this to sit still? That's why. You'll see the bottom here, they're all the same, no matter which cutter, which blade you're using, and that's the piece that goes inside the top of your cutter. I don't recommend with these soft blocks using this small one right here because it is gonna, it's gonna be too abrasive in your cutter, and it's just gonna make it a little bit hard to navigate through that. This piece is great if you want to cut your block in half or kind of change the size. So you don't have to use this whole block. You can, sometimes people will do like a tree stem and then they'll do leaves and kind of do 2 different colors and print that way. Or you can save your block for another time, but of course you're welcome to use the whole block in one go. What's going to be useful is this guy for detail. What you would probably think of using this little one for, you should probably use this bigger one for that. And then if it's not, you know, really precise detail, but you still want to get nice and deep, you can use this guy here. If you're just trying to clean up a whole area and you just need to scoop a lot, there's no detail happening, you're just trying to clear away the block, you can use this guy here. So I really recommend that you focus on using these 3 here.
Can you show them to us again?
Sure. So this one is good for cutting your block like in half or changing the size of your block. You'll see when you start cutting it, it cuts like butter. And then this one is good for, I don't really recommend using on the blocks that we have today. It's just, it doesn't allow you, we can't really do fine detail on these blocks. And I'll show you some examples so you understand what I mean.
And so Jessica, that's the one that it's like the most, it's almost like a V shape at the end, and it's like the smallest one, right?
The
one
smallest blade.
So that one we probably won't use.
Yes. So really you can use the other 3. Can you see these? This part's gonna be a little tricky to show you guys virtually, but it'll be trial and error. So the way you install this in the top, the lid has 2 pieces in it actually. And you're just going to you're gonna loosen it up. So by turning it to the left, so it's moving around. Then you're gonna take the end that you're not gonna carve with here, and you're gonna slip it in between. So it stands up like this, and it shouldn't move that much, shouldn't wiggle that much. You'll see if it's not going in straight, like that's not how it should look. It should be going in almost all the way to the hilt. Might take you a second to figure it out. And then when it's in like this, you're just gonna tighten it up. You don't wanna take the full head off. And then once it's tight, it shouldn't move. When you get to this part, you might be like, wait, what? And I'll show you again. Other tools that you'll need will be a plate or something to use as an ink plate, some scrap paper for sketching, and then just some paper towel in case you need to clean up. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to take, I was working with smaller block, but you're gonna take your block, unwrap it if you have not already. Whatever size you have, or whatever size you think you want to work with, you might not know yet. But whatever size you have, you'll just want to trace it, the outline of it, so that you understand how much real estate you have to work with as you're building your design. So I was working with a much smaller piece here. For a tip, I recommend that when you're thinking about your design, as I said, you stick with big shapes and keeping something simple. So, for example, you do want to do something like this. One of these pieces that are pretty much geometric patterns will be nice and easy to carve. What I recommend you stay away from, unless in your intro and as an intro class, is something like this here. These fine lines they're not gonna show up. It's gonna be hard to carve these well with your block. So that's why I recommend you stay from pretty much any of these on this page, except maybe this one. That one could be easier to work with. As you're thinking about your design, I recommend that you shade in what you want left on your zippered pouch, so that as you're moving through and as you end up transferring it onto your pad and everything, you understand what is going to be left there. So for example, with this poorly drawn heart here, it's 3 hearts within each other. And I shaded in this part, so I know that all of this white part I have to carve out. That's how you can think about it. So what you're gonna do, once you're feeling good about your design, you are gonna trace it. I've kind of sped through some of this so that you guys can get to work faster without watching me do all these pieces. So you're gonna trace it with your pencil, nice and hard there. You're gonna take your block, you're gonna put your tracing face down. You're gonna secure it. I'm just gonna rub. And you're gonna pull it off. You can see not all of it came. You might have to like draw in some adjustments. This is more as a guide to you. So it's really okay if you wanna like update some of that there. So you know what you're working with. I'm going to get my knife piece here. I call it a knife. I don't know what it's technically called. This blade is called. And I need to give myself a little less space or make my block a little smaller. So I can use this again in the future. Now, usually I'll show you the way you're supposed to hold this. But because I'm like actually cutting this, see, it cuts like butter. Then you split it, put that piece to the side. Now I have a much more manageable piece to work with. I'm going to work on the outside first. So when we're working on just trying to clear the way, clean out a whole bunch of block really fast, we want to use this bigger guy here. Proper grip. I'm right-handed, so grab it like this, pointer finger. This here is going to give you more control. When you carve, you want to carve slowly. When you first start off, you'll find that it's probably a little bit easier than you're expecting. So you want to make sure that you're carving nice and slow. If you decide to do something that's a curve, I recommend that instead of moving your cutter around, you instead move the block, because it just gives you so much more control in what you're doing. You want to get deep. You want to get probably deeper than you're thinking, so that whatever, like for example, if I left this piece right here, this little triangle here is going to print. You probably don't want that unless it's part of your design, in which case that's great. But if it's not part of your design, you want to just make sure that that's cleared off. That guy's being stubborn there. So that's what this one is for. I purposely didn't put a lot of detail in this example one because I didn't want this to take up too much of our time together. But I'm sorry, what's going on? If I'm like wanting to do more detail, I choose the one that's much thinner here. And it is very close to this one. You'll find when you start carving that you'll be able to discern what's going to work best. So if I'm doing something here where I don't want to use something too big to mess up this piece that I don't want carved, then this is a great one. You see how easy it is to go nice and deep there. And that is about, well, let me fix this. That is about how deep you want this. You can see this middle one here. So I would go around and make the rest of this that deep. So it ends up looking like this here. Like that. Then, once you're feeling good about what you've carved and all of that, your next step will be to test it. So I like to test on just a piece of my scrap paper before it goes on the pouch. So let's do this guy. Take your color. You don't need a lot. We're using paint. There is block printing ink that's a little bit less consistency, a little bit less thick, but it's good because it allows you, this is better because you need a little bit of thickness to kind of understand how your design affects your paint. But if you were to go to an art store in DC like Blix or Plaza, you would see a whole row of different kinds of block printing inks. So when we're rolling, we want to make sure it's on the whole circumference of our brayer. And this can be anything. This can be a plate, this could be a cutting board, any place you want to roll. It just needs to be a nice flat surface. When you do roll, you want it to do it flat. Sometimes the instinct is to do it on your hand. You really don't want to get any paint on your hand because it will find a way on your final piece. So we just put this on here like this. We set it aside. Get our sample paper. And then we're going to press with our palm. So no matter how big your design is, you want to press firmly with your palm. You don't really need your other hand. And then you're going to slowly peel it off. Now I can see here that, well, first of all, I was not paying attention when I did this. I nicked the edge of my block a little bit. And so you can see that replicated here in this little upper hand corner. Not the end of the world, but being a perfectionist, it's definitely irritating me a little bit. But you can see that if you used too much paint, it would start to look bubbly around the edges. And you can kind of see that here. When you do your test, you'll be able to see what areas of your design you need to fix. And you can fix it accordingly, or you can just decide to change your design. Once you start carving, if you make a mistake, unfortunately, this is not a very forgiving craft. So you might just have to change up your design a little bit. I've seen people who didn't get that far, they were this far, and they were like, nope, I don't want to do that anymore. They just flip it over and start again.
Okay.
That's really okay. And you can always order, now that you have the supplies that you get to keep, you can always order more blocks and try, you know, all different kinds of carving blocks and, you know, just try it again. So try not to get frustrated, because I know that this can be a little bit more, like I said, it's not a very forgiving craft. So just be patient with yourself as you work through it. As you can see, I have some old color on this block, and you really can just rinse it off and start again. You can see none of this gray color appeared here. So rinse it off, let it sit to dry overnight, and then try and print something else. If you want to do two colors, like tonight, like if I wanted to do like this color and this color, just gently scrub it with under some warm water and pat it dry. And then you might have to test it a few times to make sure none of the color is going to show up, but then you could definitely do that again. Any questions? I'm going to take myself off the spotlight. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. See, I told you, my parents. Okay, well, feel free, get started. Let me know if you have questions as you're moving through it. I'm happy to answer them. Yeah. Cool.
Jessica, if you're planning to do two different colors on a block, do you recommend separating them into two different blocks if you can?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. So, for example, okay, you can see, like, I'm thinking about doing that. So I've taken my block trace that I traced the perimeter of it, and I have 3 different, I might not get to 3, but I have different places and I'll use different colors. Just a little bit easier to handle it that way.
Okay.
So after you have finished your design and you're feeling good about it, I'll show you, like with this, the way you get your design on your block is to trace your design. I'll do it fresh so you can.
Got it. Trace it on there, and then you rub the
Yep. Put it flat. Put it flat on your block, face down. I mean, and then just hold it and rub, and then it'll transfer the pencil onto your block to make it easier to carve.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I see some design sketches? I like it. I like it. I like it. Oh, yes. Perfect. I love it. Puppy. Yes. Ooh, I like that bird a lot.
I'm not done coloring it in yet, but wait. Hold on. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to see.
I got a triangle vibe going too.
I know. Yeah, I figure
Ooh.
90-degree angles are probably the easiest to
Yes.
work with.
I like that crab. That looks awesome.
Yay, very geometric this evening.
Woohoo.
That's my mom who made the crab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not all that easy to cut, I can tell you that.
Ambitious.
Awesome.
All right, I did a test print.
Okay, let's see. That looks great.
That's the test.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
We'll see. Do you ever just draw right on the this thing?
I don't, because if I change my mind, it's really hard to erase it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but it's not like the pencil's gonna print, so you always could draw directly on the
Right.
block, but yeah.
Okay. All right. I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks great.
You can't do those little round circles. I mean, for his eyes. Oh, well.
How are everyone's blocks looking?
Pretty good. I'm about to try my second, you know.
Ooh, I like it, Sarah. That looks awesome.
Oh, nice.
Your bird turned. Oh, I like the multiple colors. That looks great.
Oh wow, the bird is
Beautiful flower. I love it. Awesome.
Mine's pretty simple, but
Yeah, I like that though.
Oh, yeah, me too.
it kind of looks like this.
Mm.
That's so cool.
Yes. Yay.
Jess, do you have a suggestion to know like how much ink is good on it?
Yeah, I'm having a little ink
The short
problem.
answer is to test it and see what looks good. A little less thick, probably in between what you're doing. Yeah, maybe get a little bit drier, the brayer. When you print it on your tote, there is a certain amount of like texture on this that might make it look a little bit different than you're expecting. But that's just the fabric, so there's nothing we can really do about that.
Should we put like something in between the layers of it? Like, do you think it'll go through or?
I haven't seen it bleed, but if you're nervous, that definitely makes sense. You could put like a paper towel or something in between the two.
I made some coffee-related devices.
Of course you did,
Oh,
Chris. I
right.
love that.
A little espresso tamper and like a
Yeah,
snow dripper.
that looks awesome.
Pretty detailed, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's looking good though.
I finally got mine together and gave it a try.
Yeah, let's see it.
The paint's it's sticking in a weird way, but I did
Mm,
kind of like an apartment building.
I love it. That looks
I'm not
awesome.
really sure why it's not, like, the second time I did it especially, more paint
Mm.
stuck to the,
Is it evenly on your brayer?
maybe it's
Like
not.
the ink? Do you know if it's rolling on evenly?
It might not be.
That could be what it is. Also,
Okay.
sometimes it might be your paper when it shows up patchy like that, and it might not show up like that on your canvas.
Okay.
But yeah, try it again on paper, and maybe make sure it's evenly around your sprayer.
Okay. I'll give that a try.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So Jessica, so I went ahead and printed on a canvas and
Mhm.
just a very simple design. but,
I love it.
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
That looks great.
so,
And so what did your block look like?
it looks just like this.
I love it. That's
Oh,
awesome.
great.
Rectangles,
Yeah.
and then just printed them in different directions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, you can see how at first you're like, I have no idea how this is gonna look. And then the first time you do it, you're like, okay, I know what I would do differently next time.
Right.
Um,
Do you repaint it every time you print?
yes.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless sometimes if you're looking for like a distressed look, you don't need to. But if you want it to appear the same kind of across the board, you should.
Okay. Oh, it does look totally different on the canvas.
Let me see.
I feel like it looks a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh, you guys, we're almost at time. 4 minutes away. Any questions before we go? And like I said, keep working. That's a great part about being at home. You can work on it as long as you want to.
Yeah. This has
It would
been,
be,
thank you for, doing this.
Yeah.
it would be fun to see
Um,
everyone's final designs.
Yeah.
Like, send the picture
Figure it
of it.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
How did yours end up turning out, Chelsea?
I did the other side, so
Mhm.
I actually cut it in half and then
Mm. I like
did
that
it.
a lot.
had, anyways. Yeah, this is fun.
As I mentioned in my emails, I'll be sending the front part of this, that's the instruction, out to you guys before the end of the weekend. And then if you have any questions as you keep working or anything like that, I'll be on for a couple more minutes, but feel free to ask, and you can always email me too if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm glad everyone got their packages okay, and this has been a nice respite towards the end of the week before the holiday weekend.
Totally.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.